A serial killer known as the Gemini turns murder into a kind of twisted performance, playing a different character every time he takes a life. The film opens on a woman locked in a basement. She's killed without mercy, her neck cut open with a blowtorch. From there, the story shifts to Craig and Kelly Owen, a newlywed couple living a rich, comfortable life thanks to Craig's music career. When Kelly sends Craig out to buy wine, he sees a news report about the Gemini killer, who has already murdered 6 people before getting a flirty text from a woman named Bianca, which he quickly deletes. Craig is knocked out outside the store and wakes up tied up in a basement. A man dressed as a clown appears and strangely calls him Bill. Craig figures he's dealing with an obsessed fan, especially once the man says he knows where Craig lives and threatens Kelly. What happens next is a nightmare. The man keeps coming back in different costumes: a police officer, a detective, a prisoner, and each time he switches outfits, his whole personality changes too. Every time, he insists Craig is actually Bill, the killer. Sure, the man has some kind of split personality disorder. Craig tries reasoning with each version of him, but the violence keeps getting worse. His teeth are pulled out, and he's forced to swallow them. His fingers are cut off. Whenever the pain gets too bad, the man switches into a calm doctor and patches Craig up just long enough to keep him alive. At one point, he even becomes Craig's mother, and in that gentler mood, Craig convinces him to hand over a knife, giving him a real chance to cut himself free. Before he can finish, the man comes back dressed as a prison guard and tapes Craig's mouth shut. A pizza delivery interrupts things, and the man feeds Craig slices one by one while cleaning up. That's when Craig spots a Gemini zodiac tattoo on the man's hand and realizes the horrifying truth. This isn't some fan pretending to be crazy. This is the real Gemini killer. Craig frees himself and tries to run, but he's caught, beaten, and knocked out again. When he wakes up, he's tied down once more, facing a man now dressed as an executioner. Despite Craig begging for his life, he's killed the same way as the woman from the opening scene, with the blowtorch. Back home, Kelly is frantic, worried sick about Craig. The police won't help until 24 hours pass, so she calls her best friend Bianca to come stay with her. The next morning, a police officer shows up at the door. It's the same man, Bill. Then the full truth comes out. Kelly is the one who ordered Craig's death, after finding out he was cheating on her with Bianca, her own best friend. Bill isn't a confused fan with a mental illness at all. He's Kelly's twin brother, a real serial killer she's protected for years. And all those costume changes weren't a symptom of anything. They were just his idea of fun. With Bianca drugged and passed out on the couch, Kelly gives Bill his next order, making sure Bianca ends up exactly like Craig. It is not really a story about a mysterious masked killer. It is about how the people closest to us can hide the coldest kind of betrayal, and how loyalty between family can turn into something far worse than anything a stranger could ever do. If you've made it this far into the recap, you're clearly someone who likes getting straight to the good stuff without wasting 2 hours. That's exactly who this channel is built for. Subscribing just means you'll never miss a breakdown like this one. All right, back to the movie. A hitchhiker stranded in the French countryside is about to learn that the danger isn't the strangers who won't stop for him, it's the one who finally does. Jack, a British traveler, is stuck on a rural road in France after being robbed of his money, phone, and car. Strangely, no driver will stop for him, as if there's some unspoken rule against it. Alone and frustrated, he eventually crosses paths with a woman named Veronique, who's arguing with a man on the roadside before being left alone with Jack. She's French but speaks fluent English, and she tells him she's lost both her parents and plans to leave the country for good. The two decide to travel together, and as night falls, they camp out and grow closer. The next morning, after washing up in a nearby lake, they finally get offered a ride by a local man named Grizzard. Veronique looks uneasy about him, but Grizzard offers to let them stay the night at his house and meet his wife, Mary, who used to live in England. Jack agrees, too tired to argue. At the house, Jack finds an old box in his room filled with childhood photos of a boy and girl, suggesting Grizzard and Mary once had children. But when Jack later asks Grizzard directly, Grizzard insists he has no kids at all, which leaves Jack confused and suspicious. The next morning, Veronique is gone, and Grizzard claims she left a note and went on her way. Jack notices something off about her handwriting compared to what he'd seen from her before, but before he can think it through, he's knocked out and kidnapped by a strange man named Delacroix, who ties him up in a truck. Delacroix threatens him, but never actually follows through, using the fear as a bluff to keep Jack from fighting back. When Delacroix gets distracted by a stove left burning, Jack manages to escape. Jack makes his way back to Grizzard's house and finds Veronique locked in a room. He frees her right away, but Grizzard and Mary return home and catch them fleeing. The two run for their lives and end up hiding in a cabin, which turns out to belong to Delacroix, who's also there. Jack threatens him with a shotgun, and in the struggle, Delacroix ends up impaled on a piece of sharp metal. Not satisfied, Veronique finishes him off herself with a knife. That's when Grizzard and Mary catch up to them, and Grizzard speaks to Veronique in French, calling her daughter. The truth comes out. Veronique has been lying the entire time. She's actually Grizzard and Mary's daughter, a violent killer who murdered her own younger brother years earlier and has been targeting strangers ever since. The road sign warning drivers not to give anyone a ride wasn't random. It was Grizzard's desperate attempt to stop his daughter from finding new victims. Too far gone to listen to reason, Jack refuses to hear Mary and Grizzard's explanation. Veronique knocks Mary out, and Grizzard is left with no way to stop what's coming. In the final moments, Veronique leads Jack away from the country with a smile on her face, and he has no idea he's about to become her next victim. It is not really a story about a stranded traveler finding help on a lonely road. It is about how the person pretending to need rescuing can be the most dangerous one there. A girl who never lets herself cry is about to find out what happens when a fake smile stops being just an expression. Eri is out having coffee with her friends when she starts to feel like something is wrong with her face. She asks them if they notice anything strange about her, especially her smile. But they brush it off every time, insisting she looks completely normal. What none of them can see is that Eri's face has actually turned into a doll's, frozen in a permanent, wide grin. The change traces back to her childhood. When her brother accidentally broke the small aquarium holding her favorite fish, Eri was devastated. But she didn't want him to feel guilty, so she smiled instead of showing her pain. From that day on, she convinced herself that smiling through anything would fix it. Over the years, she buried every hurt behind that same expression, and people came to see her as endlessly kind and forgiving, never realizing what it was costing her. One day, a producer notices her on the street, captivated by her unusual face and wide smile, and offers to turn her into an idol. Eri accepts, and her life changes fast. Her face ends up on billboards, she releases a debut single called Smile, and soon, teenagers everywhere are copying her look, some even buying retainers just to imitate her permanent grin. But the fame comes at a cost. Eri gets so busy that she drifts from her old friends. When she finally reaches out to reconnect, they turn her down, dismissing her success as nothing special, since all she really does, in their eyes, is smile. The comment cuts deep, but true to form, Eri can only smile through it. Desperate to undo what's happened to her, Eri tries everything she can think of to remove the doll-like mask that's taken over her face, but nothing works. It's stuck for good. Regret creeps in as she realizes none of this would have happened if she'd let herself feel sadness honestly instead of hiding it. Right before a big national tour, Eri sees a vision of her long-dead fish. She apologizes for choosing to smile instead of grieving all those years ago, and the fish forgives her, telling her she can finally be her true self again, but only if she's brave enough to tear down every lie she's built. Filled with newfound courage, Eri walks on stage in front of a crowd expecting another performance. Instead, she stands silently, then begins striking her own face with the microphone. The audience screams in horror as her doll-like mask shatters and disappears for good. Backstage, Eri begs her fans not to lose themselves the way she did, and to be honest about what they actually feel. Months later, Eri looks completely different, her fake smile gone for good, yet somehow her new look becomes just as popular as the old one. Even her producer praises the moment as a stroke of genius. Good for business either way. Eri moves forward with a new single called Rage. It is not really a story about a girl turning into a doll. It is about how burying your real feelings under a forced smile doesn't protect you. It just delays the moment everything breaks apart at once. A grieving man agrees to sit alone with a dead body overnight, not realizing the real danger has nothing to do with the corpse at all. The film follows a Jewish tradition where a body must never be left alone the first night after death, and someone, called a shomer, must keep watch until morning. Yaakov used to take these jobs, but he quit after a night that ended in tragedy. Years earlier, he and his younger brother were attacked by a group of men, and Yaakov froze, too terrified to help. His brother died, and the guilt has haunted him ever since, pushing him into depression and isolation. Struggling financially, Yaakov reluctantly agrees to take on one more overnight watch for a woman named Mrs. Litvak, whose husband recently passed away. She's known to suffer from confusion and hallucinations due to her age, so nobody expects the job to be anything unusual. But the moment Yaakov arrives, Mrs. Litvak seems terrified of him, begging him to leave before she wanders off, muttering strange words to herself. Alone with the body, Yaakov starts experiencing disturbing things. He receives a video of himself sleeping, taken by someone inside the house. His wrist twists painfully on its own. Water turns into a thick black liquid in front of his eyes, and he coughs up something that shouldn't exist. Mrs. Litvak reappears and tells him this isn't in his head, revealing that the house is cursed and that she sent her own children away to protect them from it. Searching the house, Yaakov finds a recorded video left behind by the dead man Reuben. In it, Reuben explains that an evil presence has haunted him for years, feeding on his deepest fears and guilt, and that the only way to destroy it is to face its true form on the night it fully appears. As Yaakov absorbs this horrifying information, he hears his dead brother's voice calling through his phone, asking the same haunting question that's followed him for years. Why didn't he save him? Terrified, Yaakov tries to flee the house, but the moment he steps outside, unbearable pain rips through his body. He realizes the curse is attached to him now too, and that leaving isn't an option. He forces himself back inside, where he's confronted by visions of his own weakest, most broken self, and even his brother's corpse, sitting up and speaking with his brother's voice. Instead of running, Yaakov finally faces the moment he's avoided his entire life. He admits the truth out loud, that he was scared that day and didn't act in time. For the first time, he lets himself grieve honestly instead of hiding from it. The vision of his brother dissolves into nothing, proving that guilt, not the monster itself, has been the real weapon this whole time. With Mrs. Litvak's help, Yaakov locates the source of the evil hiding deep in the house and begins the ritual needed to destroy it for good. Through prayer, he's pulled into Reuben's own memories, discovering that Reuben was once forced into an impossible choice during a time of war, one that cost him someone he loved and left him carrying guilt for decades. Helping Reuben finally forgive himself breaks the entity's hold completely, and the darkness fades away for good by sunrise. Yakuv walks away having survived far more than a single night of terror. He's finally confronted the guilt that's haunted him for years and started to let it go. It is not really a story about a demon haunting a house. It is about how the fear and shame we bury inside ourselves can become more dangerous than anything lurking in the dark, and the only way out is finally facing it head on. A woman spends her whole life trying to prove there's no punishment after death, right up until she finds out exactly how wrong she is. The film opens with a young woman named Sita lying inside a stranger's open grave, having her brother seal it shut from above so she can record what happens next. She's testing a theory that's haunted her since childhood: whether bad people really face consequences after they die. Sita's obsession traces back to watching her parents die in a bombing when she was young. Since then, she's refused to believe that good and evil are ever truly balanced out, no matter what her teacher at the orphanage tells her. Determined to prove it, young Sita and her brother Adil sneak into a forbidden room in the orphanage where they're mysteriously separated in total darkness. There, Sita encounters the terrified spirit of a boy named Ismail, trapped in an endless tunnel. Digging into the orphanage's past, Sita learns the horrifying truth. The place wasn't built to help children at all. It was run by a wealthy man who handed over vulnerable kids to be used by powerful people. And Ismail was one of his victims, his spirit still wandering the tunnel where he disappeared. When Sita gets too close to the truth, the staff try to silence her and her brother, but she manages to escape and save Adil before they're caught for good. 10 years later, adult Sita works at a nursing home, still consumed by the same unresolved question. She tracks down the same man responsible for the orphanage's abuse, now elderly, and forces a deathbed confession out of him before he dies from the guilt. Curious whether his death changes anything, Sita buries herself again, this time near his fresh grave, and nothing happens. She takes this as proof. Evil goes unpunished. She shares her findings publicly, but her brother Adil secretly deleted her recorded evidence, believing that convincing people evil has no consequences will only make the world crueler. Devastated and humiliated, Sita starts investigating further and discovers something unsettling. Other people who tried repeating her experiment recorded real, terrifying phenomena at other graves, suggesting punishment after death is very real after all. Confused about why nothing happened at the abuser's grave, Sita digs it up again and finds it completely empty. As she searches deeper, she's pulled into the same nightmarish tunnel from her childhood, where she's confronted again by Ismail's spirit, along with visions of her dead parents and old orphanage friends. Ismail warns her that something monstrous is closing in, and the only way to survive is to jump further into the darkness with him. When Sita wakes up, she's back in the original grave beside the old man's body, believing it might have all been a nightmare. But when she calls out for help, no one answers. A snake slithers into the grave with her, biting her before crawling into the old man's mouth. His body suddenly jerks upright, and someone smashes his skull with a hammer right in front of her, blood splattering across her face as the story ends on that horrifying image. It is not really a story about whether the dead are punished. It is about how refusing to accept an unbearable truth doesn't make it disappear. It just leaves a person searching in darker and darker places until the truth finally catches up to them. A group of friends download an app that claims to know exactly how much time they have left to live. And the joke stops being funny fast. At a party, Courtney reluctantly downloads Countdown, a viral app supposedly predicting time of death. Her friends laugh when it shows they all have decades left, then go quiet when Courtney's screen shows only hours. Shaken, she refuses a ride from her drunk boyfriend Evan and walks home alone. Along the way, strange warnings appear on her phone, telling her she's broken the app's rules. When her countdown hits 0, something unseen kills her in her own home. At the exact same moment, Evan crashes his car, but survives. Terrified the app might be real, Evan tells a nurse named Quinn about what happened before his upcoming surgery, insisting his own timer is about to run out too. Quinn brushes it off, but curiosity gets the better of her and her coworkers, who all download the app for fun. Most get decades. Quinn gets only a few days. Evan tries to skip his surgery to avoid his own countdown, but the app flags him for breaking its rules, and he's soon killed by a ghostly apparition of Courtney. Rattled, Quinn takes his phone from the morgue to investigate and realizes her own time might really be running out. She starts avoiding personal plans, including a visit to her mother's grave with her father and younger sister Jordan, which only earns her another violation warning. Desperate, Quinn tries switching phones entirely, but the app reinstalls itself automatically. At a phone store, she meets Matt, another user caught in the same nightmare, his countdown ending even sooner than hers. Together, they discover the rules. Trying to escape your fate after learning it counts as a violation, and breaking the rules hands your death over to something far worse than fate alone. They turn to a priest, Father John, who reveals the horrifying origin of the curse. A demon named Ozin was summoned generations ago by someone trying to cheat death, and it's been claiming lives through cheated fate ever since. As the hauntings intensify around both of them, Quinn and Matt track down a phone store employee capable of hacking the app's code directly. He manages to add decades to his own life, then does the same for Quinn, Matt, and Quinn's sister Jordan. For a moment, it feels like they've beaten it, but that night, while Quinn and Matt are together, the demon disguises itself as Matt and attacks her, and every altered timer resets right back to where it started. Jordan is targeted next, tormented by a demonic vision of their dead mother. Father John explains the only real way to break the curse. Someone has to die before their timer ends, or survive past it, proving the countdown false. With only minutes left on Matt's clock, they build a protective circle to fight back. The demon breaches it anyway, luring Matt outside using an illusion of his late brother, and he's killed in a car accident the instant his time expires. Grief-stricken but determined, Quinn confronts the corrupt doctor tormenting her at work, using the chaos to finally break the curse herself. In a desperate final act, she injects herself with something meant to stop her own heart just long enough to beat the timer, collapsing before her sister revives her in time. The countdown finally stops for good, and the sisters survive together, free of Ozin's curse at last. It is not really a story about an app predicting death. It is about how trying to outrun fate rather than face it honestly is often what invites the real danger in.